All right, welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to completely break down a chilling, fast-paced supernatural fiction narrative set right against the snowy, super atmospheric backdrop of Shimla. Now, this isn't just your standard monster story. It's this incredibly complex web filled with ancient feuds, hidden identities, and a massive romantic twist that literally spans across multiple lifetimes. So, if you've ever been fascinated by how classic supernatural lore can be spun into a modern mystery of betrayal and rebirth, you are definitely in the right place. Okay, let's just dive right into it.
So we kick things off with this incredibly ironic and honestly ultimately prophetic wish made by our protagonist, Vincy, right at the very beginning of her journey. I mean, we probably all have that one friend who romantically obsesses over fictional monsters, right? But Vincy kind of takes it to a whole new level. We meet her and her super sarcastic roommate Joe walking through the chilly snowfall of Shimla. Vincy is just obsessed with vampire lore, mostly because her online friend has filled her head with these romanticized tales of the undead. While Joe totally dismisses all of this as nonsense, Vincy casually drops this exact quote while sitting in a dark, eerie cemetery. And man, she has absolutely no idea how literal and how dangerous this wish is about to become.
Part 1. The Graveyard Awakening. Let's get into how this whole mess starts.
To really understand the chaos here, we have to look at this striking 25-year parallel. Exactly a quarter century ago, a ridiculously powerful vampire named Winston broke the ultimate rule of his kind. He trusted a werewolf, and that betrayal landed him in a death-like coma, basically locked in a glass coffin. Fast forward to the present day. Vincy, who just arrived in Shimla for her studies on her 25th birthday, is visiting that same graveyard with Joe. When she stands up to leave, her dress catches on some bushes. As she pulls it free, a thorn pricks her finger, and a single drop of her blood falls directly onto the soil of this hidden, really foul-smelling grave. This tiny, accidental prick is the exact spark that sets off a chain reaction, waking up a decades-old war.
Moving on to Part 2, Rebirth of a Vampire.
Now, this is where things take a really cool turn. Dr. Moina didn't just use some ancient dark magic. She actually orchestrated this precise 25-year-long scientific experiment to revive Winston. It's such a fascinating subversion of the typical Gothic trope because it blends ancient lore with like a modern sci-fi serum experiment. So Dr. Moina, who's this imposing figure in a long white coat, arrives at the graveyard in the dead of night. She knows that finding fresh human blood among the dead is super rare. She scoops up the blood-soaked soil where Vincy bled and takes it back to her icy lab. There, she mixes Vincy's fresh human blood with her own pure vampire blood to synthesize this glowing blue liquid. And the second she injects this serum into Winston's pale, lifeless body, his skin regains its color, and he wakes up with this massive gasp. The vampire's back, and you better believe he's ready for revenge.
All right, Part 3, Love and Hidden Enemies.
So despite having her memory completely wiped clean, the magnetic pull between Vincy and Winston is instantaneous. When he shows up at the local college with these striking blue eyes and unnaturally red lips, a bully named Vicky starts harassing him, but Vincy immediately steps in. She grabs Winston's wrist to pull him away, and the moment their skin touches, a fierce gust of wind blows through the campus, blurring everyone else's vision. For Winston and Vincy, time literally stops. They're just staring into each other's eyes, totally reconnecting a bond that was forged in a past life 25 years ago. It's an intensely breathless moment. But we gotta remember, Vincy is currently human, and Winston is a newly awakened, incredibly hungry vampire.
And speaking of hungry, Winston has been starved for a quarter of a century. That extreme starvation leads to a horrific massacre where 30 people, an entire wedding procession is found completely drained of their blood. You see, after his brief encounter with Vincy, Winston is just overwhelmed by the scent of her blood. He practically has to run away just to stop himself from attacking her right then and there. Desperate to quench his thirst, he stumbles upon a passing wedding. The very next day, Vincy shows Winston a newspaper article detailing the gruesome discovery: 30 bodies entirely drained. And in this incredibly ironic twist, Vincy tells Winston that if a vampire did this, she wouldn't even hate him, she'd actually want to see his blood-stained lips. Her blinding fascination with the macabre completely obscures the fact that the monster is sitting right next to her.
This whole situation creates a fascinating tactical disadvantage for Winston. As we can see here, he can feel the warmth of the werewolves nearby, but their evolved aura makes them virtually invisible to his senses. This brilliantly shifts the whole narrative from just a simple romance to a highly calculated supernatural war. The werewolves have spent the last 25 years adapting. They've developed an aura that totally masks their scent from vampire noses. So as Winston walks the streets with Vincy, his body temperature suddenly spikes, which is his physiological reaction, telling him a werewolf is dangerously close. He even brutally attacks that bully, Vicky, draining him in an alleyway because he thinks Vicky might be the enemy. But Winston's mentor quickly warns him. The werewolf pack is hiding in plain sight, masquerading as humans, and his reckless, aggressive tactics are walking him right into a massive trap.
Which brings us to Section 4, the final supernatural showdown. Let's see how this wraps up.
Picture this. It's 11 p.m. on the night of a full moon. Vincy steps out of the shower only to see a massive, long-tailed beast crash straight through her window. Terrified, she calls Winston, who runs faster than the wind, smashing into her room to protect her. He traces the werewolf into the forest, carrying Vincy in his arms. But the real shock here isn't the fight itself, it's the identity of the beast they're chasing. We really have to ask ourselves, who has been pulling the strings this entire time?
The jaw-dropping reveal finally comes when Winston recognizes a locket on the female werewolf. It's the very same locket he saw Vincy give to her best friend, Joe. That's right. Joe, the sarcastic roommate who constantly rolled her eyes at vampires and complained about going to the graveyard, is actually Sam, the werewolf pack leader. I love this because it completely flips the whole sarcastic best friend trope right on its head, turning her into this brilliant, villainous mastermind. She has literally been hiding her aura and living side by side with Vincy this entire time.
Looking at these points, it's clear Jo didn't just stumble into this war. She orchestrated the whole thing from the shadows. She completely used Vincy's obsession to set the ultimate trap. I mean, she didn't go to that graveyard reluctantly. She guided Vincy exactly to where Winston's remains were buried, knowing full well that a scratch from a thorn would provide the exact blood needed to wake him up. And why do all this? Because 25 years ago, they only managed to put Winston into a coma. Sam wanted Winston fully resurrected so she could trap him and kill him permanently this time, wiping out the vampire threat once and for all. Talk about playing the long game.
But her plan backfires spectacularly. As the two supernatural armies violently clash in the forest, Vincy's memories of her past life suddenly come rushing back. Realizing her eternal love for Winston, she undergoes this stunning transformation, finally taking on her true vampire form. She intercepts Sam's attack, killing her former roommate and the werewolf leader, which effectively ends the war and cements her immortal romance with Winston. It's a breathtaking climax where Vincy fully embraces her dark destiny. She literally turns her ironic wish from the very beginning of our explainer into a permanent, immortal reality.
So, I'll leave you with that thought to ponder as we wrap up this exploration of a truly twisted supernatural romance. From an ironic wish in a snowy graveyard to a centuries-old war hiding right inside a college dorm room, this story perfectly illustrates how carefully crafted lore and hidden motives can make for an absolutely unforgettable narrative. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive, and remember to keep questioning what lies beneath the surface. Catch you next time.